Oh boy. Twilight isn't the worst film ever made. You're just a sexist. So I gotta tell you, as someone who likes to make these videos making fun of trash fires, sci-fi fangirls, Geek Like a Girl, has been one of the greatest sources for content because they always put stuff out like this all the time. So apparently now, if you didn't like Twilight, you're a sexist. And reading over this article, the bitterness of the author just like comes through big time. And what's funny is the author of the article literally says, like, I'm not even a big fan of Twilight, but you know, making fun of it, that you can't ignore it. It's a cultural phenomenon. Okay, so like this low tier Harry Potter like really shows the staying power. Like, so I'm gonna read over the article because it's pure gold, but comparing it to Harry Potter, right, is such a joke because Harry Potter is still very relevant. Now you can take out the Quidditch, or what is it, the Fantastic Beasts, or whatever it is. I'm not interested in those. But the actual books and the movies, like, are still relevant and still talked about, still watched, still liked. You know, until I came across this article, who the hell was talking about this pile of garbage? These are literally some of the worst movies I've ever seen. I only saw the first two, only because I had to go on dates, and this is what there was to see. I literally fell asleep in the second one when I saw that. I passed out. I don't even know what happened. I remember they were running around in the woods the whole time, and like some dude was chasing somebody, and I passed out. Like, and I was asleep the whole movie, and I woke up, and then they were like in Paris and sparkling. And I'm like, what the hell is this? First one, I think I watched at the girl's house, so we didn't make it through the movie, thankfully. But so I've still never completely watched one, but I just remember being bored and thought it was just some of the worst crap I've ever seen. And I think the fact that they haven't stood the test of time kind of agrees with that. That's the true mark of something that's truly great, is if it will stand the test of time, right? Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, those are standing the test of time. No one gives a damn about Twilight anymore. So it's not that we're just sexist. It's that these movies don't hold up, okay? They don't hold up. Now, I don't know what to say about the books. The books are young adult, teen romance stuff. Girls eat that stuff up. I can understand the books, but movies are totally different, a totally different beast. So let's go ahead and take a look at this pile of dung. Some films are just easy targets as they cycle the pop culture continue, and we go through endless stream of hype, backlash, arguments, fandom wars, and good old-fashioned trolling, like you're kind of doing here. You know what I'm saying? It can get difficult to distance ourselves from all of the noise. Certain stories, actors, creators, and the like become helpful shorthand for a sensation of closure that helps us deal with the tangled conversations that exhausted us for so long. It leads us to declare certain things to be the best movies ever, television shows, books, and so on. While others face the opposing fate, it's simple. It's neat, and it brings us all into common ground with a sense of authority. Well, that, or it can be to incite outrage and garner precious clicks. So she's obviously talking about this article is a response to something. Apparently, and we're going to learn in the next right here, that this is a response to a Ranker article where they called it the worst movie ever. And I think that that's a fair point. She calls it's pop culture's most beloved punching bag here. And I think that is a fair criticism. It's a pile of garbage movie. The acting is terrible. I think, what's the chick who plays Bella? Is that her name? Bella? She has like one facial expression in pretty much every scene that I saw her in. And the dudes are pretty much just there to be looked at like pieces of meat. I find it funny. That's another video I should make where I want to round up all of these articles where they objectify men, and then round up some where they objectify, like where they make like big piss fits about women that are objectified. Just the hypocrisy of all of these people is hilarious to me. But they called it the worst movie ever, and then she says this right here. Directed by Catherine Hardwicke to be the worst film ever made? That's right. Worse than The Room, Manos, Hands of Spade, Master of the Skies, Movie 43, any movie of Adam Sandler's later half. So she's missing the point of some of these. The Room is so bad that it's good. So you can't compare The Room. And I've never seen Hands of Fate or Master of Disguise or any of these Adam Sandler movies, but they're meant to be comedies or whatever. Like, I don't know. And no one knows about any of these other movies here. Now, Mystery Science Theater is, you can't put these in here. The thing that she's missing, though, out of all these movies that she's naming, is they weren't cultural phenomenons. Like, this movie wasn't a long-lasting cultural phenomenon, but to say it wasn't, like, a big thing for a minute is an understatement. It definitely was, like, very popular for a little bit, but none of this stuff is, right? So why would, like, anybody bring up Giggle or whatever this is, Jiggle or whatever the hell, like, or Birdmick? No one can bond making fun of any of these because nobody knows it. Everybody knows Twilight's bad, so you can sit there and rag on it together and have a good time. That's kind of the point, and I think that's lost on her completely. And she says, let's get it out of the way. I don't like it. But listen to the stuff that she puts in here. Okay. Let's get this out of the way. I don't like the Twilight series of novels. I think the first book is interesting, but its series falls apart under its own ineptitudes. They're badly paced. The world building doesn't hold up despite many intriguing elements. There's no real plot or sense of threat to sustain 4 very long books. And Meyer's depiction of a lurid teenage romance falls into many questionable areas regarding internalized misogyny and rape culture. Yeah. You see where she goes with this stuff? So, she spends pretty much 5 or 6 paragraphs talking about how much she doesn't care for it, but defends the hell out of it. You obviously do care about these movies, right? So we can just go ahead and skip down to here, and this is where her argument comes in for why you are misogynistic, bigoted, sexist for not liking it. It just happened to be a paranormal romance that prized emotions over plot and world building. Twilight has so many good things in its favor, but it would be a disservice to the conversations around it to ignore how massively problematic it was too. There was a reason so much of the narrative surrounding the film and books was so heated. We learn a lot from these days. But it's also impossible to deny that much of those legitimate criticisms were hijacked by people, usually men who hadn't read the books, to mock something made for teenage girls. It's easy to forget how sexism overwhelmed everything. Why do they need to read the books? The point of the movie is to be an adaptation. Like, you don't need to read Lord of the Rings to go see Lord of the Rings. You shouldn't need to read Twilight to go see Twilight. So that's the dumbest point I think I've ever seen made as a defense. Like, that's a terrible argument. You needed to read the book first, sexist. Okay. Just chill, lady. Chill out. Oh, and it's reviewed by men too, so also a problem. This phenomenon was not exclusive to Twilight. Look at fandom and cultural responses to any fandom that is driven mostly by the desires of consumerist power of women, especially if they're young. Romance novels get it all the time, as do rom-coms and crafting in the beauty world. Even pop culture and fandoms not coded as feminine or girly face the ire, as any woman who loves comic books, Star Wars, and video games can attest to. Yet what happened with Twilight felt like the grossest exaggeration of that anger. It wasn't enough to mock Twilight. It had to be annihilated. We all contributed to that wave of unnecessary force on some level. I know I did. I think about that a lot. So she literally sits there at night and thinks about how bad she hurt the Twilight fandom. It's a terrible life you live. Very sad indeed. So, this is a weird article because Twilight itself, didn't stand the test of time. And I don't think that you can point up the mockery that it had because it still managed to get like 5 sequels or something, a series of books. Like, if it wasn't doing well, none of that would have gotten made. So I think that her point is moot because, like I said, the reason that it doesn't stand up is because it doesn't hold the test of time. It wasn't that much of a cultural phenomenon. It was just a kind of a thing for a minute, kind of like it's like the Backstreet Boys of girl movies, like another boy band comes across and replaces it here and there. So I don't believe that's relevant. The only one that stands up is like Harry Potter's like the Beatles of girly movies because it ends up changing and adapting and brings in dudes too and kind of like moves into a Rolling Stones territory. Whereas Twilight just had its couple of one-hit wonders and then faded into the sewer hole. So what is so worthless about Twilight and by extension all stories like it to those who are still mad about it a decade later? Are people still mad about it a decade later? This is literally the first time I've even seen anyone talk about it other than this person. Literally, this is an entire rant and spurgery response to a Ranker article that said it was the worst movie ever. Which I think Ranker isn't even that voted on by fans. So I'm a little lost here. So I'm going to start back from the beginning. What is so worthless about Twilight and by extension all stories like it to those who are still mad about it a decade later? Is it the single-minded adoration of love or its feminism or its feminine aesthetic or how utterly unconcerned it is with appealing to notions of realism? Plenty of stories do that and do it with way less creative spark and genuine emotion than that first Twilight film. Hell, just look at the 50 Shades of Grey. Do those angry voices still generally care about those issues that women were dissecting in Twilight fandom long before it went mainstream? Or are they just easy crutches or learn against while they use the same gags about sparkling? If misogyny in film is such a worry for them, then I have plenty of Michael Bay movies to submit as evidence. Maybe, just maybe, the interests of women are a joke in themselves in such figures. So she's literally comparing people joking about this to internalized misogyny. What a dumpster fire. And then she just keeps going on and on and on. Jessica Jones. Don't compare. The first season of Jessica Jones was pretty good. So I'm not gonna go into that one. And she says you should go and give it a chance because, it's a story made for adolescent women that is more than worth your righteous indignation of clickbait. Okay, there, Spurg. So what do you think about this? This is a big dumpster fire article. Fun to cover here and there. I like making fun of these stupid articles. It won't be the last one. Fangirls is definitely a weird part of sci-fi. Sci-fi itself, the website has just become the biggest pile of trash I've read in a long time. Like, I don't know what happened to sci-fi, man. They used to be pretty cool a long time ago, and then they just turned to trash fire. Strange world. Vice did the same thing. Vice used to be pretty legit. Now they're trash too. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on this article? Do you agree with the author? Let me know. Also, check out my Stream Me. Check out my Patreon. Link is in the description. Kiss up on that notification bell. Maybe grab its butt. Subscribe. Throw a like up. And I'll see you guys on the next one.